Yes. Hello, guys. This is the astrology consultant, and we are here again to do a podcast, episode number one, with my lovely host and guest, Michelle. And we are going to talk about relationships, as we always do. Michelle, introduce yourself,
Hey
even though I half
guys.
said your name anyway.
Hey guys, I'm Michelle. Welcome to the podcast. We'll be obviously talking about relationships and astrology and linking the two. Really fun topic to discuss. I'm so interested into it and I love sharing all my knowledge. Obviously you know a lot more and I'm still learning from you, because you always literally have like so much to share.
Well, yeah, I do have not a lot to share, but I'm not perfect, and um, it's not even me. It's astrology is what it is. It's not. It's just everybody can interpret it in different ways and stuff like that. So you may even say something that I have not thought about. So
Mm.
you definitely have a lot of understanding about astrology as well. But I believe you said that you do today have a question for me, which I'm very very interested in hearing actually.
I
Um,
do.
yes, test me, test my knowledge.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this.
So, one thing that I've been wondering,
Mhm.
it's kind of a conversation that's come between like me and my friends and stuff like that, because I've started to sort of, you know, teach them a bit more about natal charts and things like that. And they're
Okay.
quite, they're interested in it. And I've been kind of reading their charts for them and telling them, you know, what kind of people they should go for, how, their life is run by certain like planets and what they represent. But my question would be,
Mm.
if the natal chart, right, determines your relationship, right, for example, it gives you an idea of potentially, let's say, who you should be with, what kind of person you should look for, and things like that.
Mm.
Um, Environmental factors play a part, obviously, in things. So sometimes a lot of people are not aware of their charts, right? So they end up just maybe potentially following the wrong path, right? Because they don't know exactly what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Um, what happens if you don't follow your chart? So obviously, I know like there may be a chance that the relationship may not work out. Some may actually do, but what happens if you don't actually follow it?
So are you saying if you don't, so you're in, say, let's say there's a relationship, right?
Mm.
You're saying two people in a relationship. What happens if you don't follow your chart in a relationship or in just that individual person's life? Just to clarify.
Well, if we're going to talk about relationships. So obviously, what you would do in your life path, what you should do, like in terms of your career, that's a separate subject. But in terms
Yeah.
of relationship, you can kind of have an idea of who that
What type of
person
person?
should
What type?
exactly.
What basically what characteristics that person has, and you're saying what you do if you don't go down the road with your own with a person who doesn't have the characteristics that your chart needs. Basically, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so if your natal chart says you need to find someone who, like, for example, I think you've done my chart and you've told me
Yeah.
who I should be with, kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
person I should look for. What
Yeah.
happens if I don't follow that?
Well, the thing is, it's a two sided thing with this type of question. And it's a very good question, by the way. So
Thank
I
you.
like this question. Um, if you do not follow your chart, what happens is that you have a higher potential to have an unsuccessful relationship. Um, I'm not saying that you will have an unsuccessful relationship because what determines a successful relationship isn't only astrological compatibility. There is a trauma base um, that people have, and if people don't have similar traumas, or if one person has a lot of trauma and the other person has uh, hardly any trauma, it's going to be an imbalance in how they see relationships. And this is trauma from specifically their parents. Um, if that is on different sides of the scales, um, it's unlikely to really work. But if you have a relationship that isn't so much, if people have like low trauma from their parents, both of the people have low trauma from their parents in a relationship, or high, both people have high trauma in the parents-son relationship. I'm saying obviously with the high trauma, it's less likely to succeed, but it still can work better than those who have high and low, the imbalance. So, having a birth chart, coming across a birth chart that is not in line with your own birth chart, the levels of success can still happen. But what has to happen is the communication has to be so, so good, and the understanding of each other's needs has to be so, so good. Because what happens in relationships is that after 5, 6, 7 years, you might still love the person, but that intensity of the love settles. So someone may feel like I need something more, and their insecurities may come up. Someone may feel like the person's not loving them the way they used to. All these insecurities have come up. So when you don't have that compatibility, it does get to that level where it settles down, and the communication and understanding each other is key, and understanding what that person needs, that person saying what they need, that person being open is the key. But again, I don't feel like it can truly work on a natural basis, and I don't feel that people should be trying to gain this type of relationship in life, because I think you're missing out on higher potential of relationships. And for me, it can still work, but there's going to be an element of frustration. There's going to be an element of disappointment. There's going to be an element of like neglect, maybe lack of respect, maybe, but it can still work. It just takes work, where all relationships do have a level of work, but some are a lot less work than others.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, in terms of my God, just my mind's gone blank again. Um, in terms of the emotional trauma, so
Hmm.
obviously that will obviously be triggered, right?
Yeah.
There's also the you know the oh my God, my mind's just gone.
So you're
You know.
referring to emotional trauma, and what you're saying
Oh
that.
yeah, now I remember. So environmental factors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that would be the common understanding of the communication skills. So obviously, if someone is not interested, but they don't
Mm.
know, the charts, they're not into astrology or
Yeah, yeah,
something like that, they'll
yeah.
just understand that communication is something that needs to be, had in a relationship.
Yes.
Obviously, there are some people that don't necessarily have that, so it's a
Mm.
bit of a hit and miss. Um,
That,
Traumas obviously will trigger situations in
mm.
relationships. I think from people around me, I
Hmm.
know like one relationship, they both have some sort of trauma. One has a lot more higher trauma.
Yeah.
I'm not sure from what I've seen in their chart that they're as compatible.
So,
And
so,
it's
so, so you're saying that they both have trauma? Yeah.
one, yeah, they do, but one is a little bit more significant.
And you're saying that astrologically they're not compatible also. Is that what you're saying?
I think sun sign wise, yes, they are. But in terms of the other charts, down the chart, not
The
so
other
much.
placements, the other
The
placements are not.
placements, yeah,
The other
sorry.
placements are not so
They're
don't hit
not
the
so
right
much.
spots. Yeah. So
Yeah,
what?
and
Mm,
the emotional trauma is not, they've not healed. Well, one person has not sort of identified their own. I,
hmm.
I do like to kind of help as well in case anyone does need some sort of advice in terms of healing and stuff like that, and to help kind of recognize their own
Yeah, yeah.
traumas. I have basically helped to identify situations to make her sort of realize and to better her communication
Hmm.
and to sort of just it's to help to make the relationship work, you know?
You
Um,
feel like because of their lack of connection or understanding or communication emotionally, do you feel like they're on a downward spiral, or is it up and down, or is it just going one way?
it's constantly up and down.
Mm,
I think it takes a lot more work. Um, like you said, relationships can work, but it depends on, really actually understanding each other's birth chart and
Yeah,
knowing how to handle it, basically. I have another question.
go on.
If someone has a high compatibility,
Mm.
you got some people that are quite low, some people quite high. Is a higher compatibility necessarily worth trying, or like making
Well, it
a
depends.
like
It really
seeking a
depends.
relationship?
Well, if yeah, I mean, there's no shadow of a doubt, and I think what happens with this type of compatibility when it's high, it the two naturally have the connection, naturally have the chemistry.
Mm,
So sometimes incompatibility though. Sometimes what happens is when people have high compatibilities but they don't get together. Sometimes what the reason why this doesn't happen is because the the see, I'm very much into energy and very much into this type of things. And sometimes when people's frequency are low, yeah, when they're feeling low, when they're depressed, when they're down, when they're not healthy, all these other things that when they're maybe taking too much drugs, maybe drinking too much, whatever, which is lowering your vibration. When you have this low vibration and you might have a perfect connection with someone, but because your vibration is so low because of how you're operating, you know that connection won't hit because you will not be vibrating to your highest octave, into your better self, and that person may be, and so therefore the connection might not happen at that time because of where you are and where that person is. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
So that can go missing in certain elements, but I think majority of the time, if people come across each other, they can feel it, especially people who are more sensitive than others. I do think women understand this sometimes a bit more than men, in terms of coming across someone who they genuinely like in many different aspects of who they are, or they can feel something about this person, or they have something. And I think men do have this too, don't get me wrong. But I think it always should be, obviously, if they're both single, it always should be encountered. It always should be explored, and because a strong connection can really lead to a beautiful life, a beautiful relationship, and a beautiful family home. But let me just say quickly that you know it doesn't always work at the same time. You know, you might have high compatibility with someone, and it may still not work. And the reasons why it may not work, because sometimes in life, not everybody is supposed to be our life partner. Not everybody is supposed to be our permanent life partner. It's really like some people are great at being together, making each other feel great, and then when it comes to the family environment, it's slightly off. Some people are great at family environment, but they would never get with each other because they don't have that strong maybe attraction to each other. But they could have if they was to have kids, it would be amazing and a great family environment, and they'll get along for a long time. So it's like there's always different factors involved in people's connections, and like I said, with the trauma levels as well, which is a big one. So it's tough. It's tough. Relationships is going to be the toughest thing anyone's going to do in life.
mm,
It's going to be hard. It's going to be the hardest thing. People talk about other things, but you're working with another being that has all these different aspects of their life, and different natal chart, different genetics, different upbringing, all these different things, and you're supposed to bond with this person for a long period of time. It's tough, but the best opportunity you're going to find in bonding with someone is in astrology. There is no shadow of a doubt about it. Do you find? Go on. Sorry, go on. You had a question.
yeah, I was about to ask, do you think that people who meet someone who has a higher compatibility, and you say not necessarily like maybe need to be together, but do you feel like people meet for a reason, for growth
I
and
think.
like healing within
mm,
or something like that? Because I do believe in this sort of spiritual side of things as well.
so you still believe in what? Sorry.
Like the spiritual side of things.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
I feel like you're meant to meet people for a reason to sort of help you see things in life.
I
Um,
think. I think
yeah.
you don't. I think when you meet people that you don't have a connection with, I don't think. I think there is a reason behind it, but I don't think it's a meaningful reason. I think. I think we've all met people that we've really not just regretted, but just said it was pointless. You know, it was a pointless experience that I didn't really necessarily help me grow or help me become a better person. Maybe it helped me understand what I don't like,
Mm.
but
You
it's
learn
something that you
yourself in
didn't.
the process, I think, as well.
Yeah, I guess you do. Don't get me wrong, but I think because life is a process in itself, life is a challenge in itself. I think the relationship that you have with someone else doesn't need to be that much of a challenge. If you're having a challenge at home and or having a challenge in your relationship and then challenging on the outside world, which is always going to be the case, especially for men and women, to be honest. Um, yeah, this is something that you don't necessarily need in life. You don't need that challenge at home. So yeah,
You're going to
do you
ask me
think?
something.
Yeah, do you think the relationships that you've come across and maybe people that you know as well, do you think there's any like significance? Because I've I don't know about this one. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe you might have a thing. Do you think there's any significance in the sun sign in terms of compatibility? Because I know that it's generally promoted um, in the astrology circles, which I think is a detriment to astrology, if you ask me, because I don't feel like astrology really is about sun sign compatibility. I think obviously sun, moon, Mars, Venus, and there's so many more. Sun does have an impact. Don't get me wrong, but do you feel like do you feel like there is a significance in sun sign compatibility?
So a long time ago, before I knew much more. So
Mm,
obviously we started getting into astrology and discussing about podcasts like a year ago, right? So I learned a lot more
yeah, yeah,
about the placements and things like that. And I was a lot more surprised because I was like, wow, I really just knew mainly about sun signs and sun sign compatibility was like the main thing.
yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest, because you know, in one of the videos, I was like, there's like two specific signs. I'm just like, nope. But
Mm,
maybe I could get along with someone really well romantically who is a Taurus or a
mm,
Scorpio, but they've got other placements that actually match mine very well.
mm,
So
mm.
I used to think it was just sun sign, but I think, like as you said, that's very generic.
Yeah.
And when you do look deeper into it, it makes so much sense. I was doing a bit of a reading last night with the
Mm,
girls because they came round, and
yeah.
I was going in with the planets and the signs in them, and it really did
Yeah.
make a lot more sense. She was like, "Yeah,
Mm,
like that really does sound like me." So
yeah.
I think sun sign is very generic because anyone that I would talk about horoscopes with, they'd say, "But that's like 1 in 12 population. How can 1 in 12 people
Yeah. Yeah.
be the same?" And I'm just
Yeah.
like,
This is the biggest frustration. This is the biggest
"Yeah,
frustration for me because it's so generally known as 12 signs and there's 8 million people. Which I don't know the maths with that, but let's say 800. Let's say 800 million people are one sign in the world.
mm,
I think I can't. Maybe nine. I don't know the maths.
Aquarius is the least
Yeah, the least
popular sign.
because of the I don't know why
Is it because of
actually.
February?"
I was thinking that, but that would be Pisces, wouldn't it? But
To both, yeah.
I don't know if it's Pisces. But anyway, the point is it just doesn't it just doesn't make any sense that there's 12 signs and your sun sign is who you are. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever because me and you are Geminis and me and you are very different. Even though we have similarities, we're very different at the same time. So it's just wrong. And when it comes to romantic compatibility, because I think sun sign is about friendship. Personally, I think it indicates how
Really?
well you can get on it. Yeah, it basically my studies like sun sign, moon sign. Like these are friendship based relationships,
Mm.
sometimes I come across people who have friendship based relationships where they get along very well, but it's not a romantic connection because in order for it to be romantic, it has to be masculine and feminine. Sun is masculine, the moon is feminine, Venus is feminine, Mars is masculine. This it has to have some element of contrast or opposites. So this is what's really romantic. But yeah, you can, like I get a lot along with a lot of Geminis. Like they're the people I get along with the best. And I think, guys, if you want to know who to get along with the best, get along with the sign that's your sign. They will be your peoples. They're your peoples, man. They're your bedrooms. They're your homies. They're your brothers and sisters. So yeah, it's interesting one. It's interesting, but you know what? We're going to end it there because obviously we're going to do a short little segments and we're just going to keep our segment short and sweet. Is there anything else that you would like to add or say or ask me, or anything you'd like to
I
just
think I've asked my questions for now. So
yeah,
thank you for your answer. That was quite interesting.
no problem. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. We're going to cut it short. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Michelle, for
Thank you guys for listening.
no problem. Thank you, Michelle, for being here as well. And guys, we're going to come back next week with different subjects and different topics. And if you have any comments or anything, just post them and we're always going to answer you. Like and subscribe.